G'day guys. So I've been in Ho Chi Minh City for over a week now, and so I've got 10 points I just want to have a chat with you about on my impressions of Ho Chi Minh after being here a week. And the first one is talk about safety, like personal safety and just getting around the city as a over 60 senior, and I've felt incredibly safe. Haven't been concerned at all. I've been to a few different areas of the city, obviously not everywhere, but I've been feeling very safe. I haven't felt threatened once during the day or out at night time. So I'm staying in District 1, which is like the main area that lots of tourists come and stay at. They either stay at District 1 or District 3 is another one. But District 1, lots of foreigners around. Lots of people do speak English around here, or a little bit of English. But yeah, so that's the first point I wanted to touch on. Very safe travelling here as a senior by yourself. So if you're thinking about coming to Ho Chi Minh, it's well worth it. That's my first point. Don't be scared to travel by yourself, that's for sure. So my second point I want to talk about is getting around the city, or transportation tips or points. It's a very walkable city. Everywhere's flat, so you can just sort of get out and walk around. That's very easy. Grab's a really good one to use. Download the Grab app on your phone. The Grabs are very cheap, so Grab's like their version of Uber if you're in the West. But yeah, Grab, you can get a Grab. When you get the Grab app, you just put in and you say, it automatically recognises where you are. You put in where you want to go, and then they give you about 6 or 7 different options, and they all cost a little bit different. But if you're daring, you can jump on the back of a motorbike. I haven't done that, just because not that I don't trust them, but I'd rather be in a car than on a bike. I haven't seen any accidents since I've been here, and the traffic is pretty crazy. There's hundreds of thousands of motorbikes whizzing around everywhere, but they all seem to know where they're going. But getting back to the transportation, so if you want to go somewhere, you can just order a Grab. They come like straight away within a minute or two. There's thousands of Grab riders on their motorbikes, or also cars, or if you want to, if you've got a group of people, you can order a bigger car, or like a minibus type thing. So Grab's the number one to get around. You might have seen the video that I did a couple of days ago. I jumped on their new metro system, which was interesting. That just opened like 3 days ago. But there's also buses. You can go on an open top double-decker bus to do a bit of a tour around the place. I didn't actually do that because I've been to all those places anyway. I've walked to most of those, or all those places, so I haven't worried about the double-decker bus. But that's a thing that I'd probably recommend you do. I've seen some pictures and videos of people that have done that. That looks very enjoyable. But yeah, transportation, getting around here, it's very easy to do. Very easy. So I'm just walking through a bit of a park here. That's not far from where I'm staying. So probably 200 or 300 metres from where I'm staying. I'm staying right near the Ben Thang market, the Ho Chi Minh's most famous market. So it's only probably 400 or 500 metres from where I'm staying. But getting back to it, getting around Ho Chi Minh, very easy to do. If you've got Google Maps, then yeah, you're laughing. Google Maps is obviously very important. So I'd recommend you download Google Maps, and then if you're going to come here, download the Grab app as well. All right, point number 3 I'd like to touch on is the food. The food here is unbelievably cheap. This morning I, again walked 50 metres from my hotel, and I had a banh mi from a street vendor lady. Had an omelette in the banh mi, and you have some a bit of salad in with it, a bit of greenery, and a little bit of chili sauce, and that cost me 18 Vietnamese dong, which is about $1.10 or $1.12 Australian, which is unbelievably cheap. I've been having another banh mi at a different place that cost me 30,000 Vietnamese dong, and that was still a good deal, but 18,000 is ridiculously good. The bread is so fresh and crunchy. It's really nice. And then I had a coconut coffee. So all up, breakfast cost me less than $4 Australian. So, that's sort of unheard of where I'm from back in Melbourne. There's no way you could get breakfast for under $4. You're talking about, $25, $30 Australian. That's what it's up to these days. But yeah, that's my second point. I'm not a super adventurous person with food, but you can get whatever you like here, and very cheap. There's also the option to eat lots of Western food if you want that too. There's lots of restaurants around the place that have Italian food and all sorts of different food. And there's a cafe that I discovered here called the Melbourne Cafe, which is fantastic. I went there a few days ago in one of my other videos if you want to have a look at that. But they basically have everything that we have back in Australia. So if you get a little bit homesick, you can go to a place called the Melbourne Cafe, and it was very nice. So that's my next point. If you are a big foodie, you can get whatever you like here, or you can just eat all the Vietnamese food. It's your choice. My next point I want to touch on is Ho Chi Minh is a rapidly developing city. You've got your traditional things, like some people riding around their super old push bikes, and ladies out sweeping the street and those sorts of things. But then it's a super modern city as well. It's a rapidly developing city. You've got a lot of skyscrapers in the new area. I went up to the landmark 81 tower the other night, which is the tallest building in Vietnam. They had an observation deck up there, so I went there, and that's in the middle of a big shopping centre as well. So, the shopping centre has got all the types of shops, the Western type shops that you'd expect in any modern shopping centre in Australia or the US or the UK or Canada or wherever. So they've got that aspect, which is all brand new and rapidly developing, and then you have got your traditional Vietnamese as well. So it's a very rapidly developing country, though. I'd say in the next 5 or 10 years going to be a lot more advanced again. I went on a brand new metro system a couple of days ago, just opened, as I said, so that was a good experience, brand new. So that's the next point I just wanted to touch on. It's like two different cultures, if you like, the old Vietnam and then the rapidly developing new Vietnam that's moving forward very quickly. So the next point I want to talk about is the Vietnamese coffee culture. It's got a massive coffee culture here. I didn't know before I got here, but Vietnam is the second largest coffee producing country in the world. So there's a lot of coffee here. There's little coffee shops on all the corners. You can get coffee everywhere. There's also lots of sort of franchise coffee shops now. I guess the most recognised one is Highlands Coffee out of Vietnam, but there's quite a few other ones that are sort of obviously set up, they've done well, and then it looks like they're franchised out, or they've got a lot of company-owned coffee shops. So that is a big part of their culture. They have coffee in the mornings. Usually it's very strong coffee. Like I prefer my lattes, This morning I had my banh mi for breakfast and I had a coconut coffee, which is really nice. So they have all these little scrapings of coconut in with it. And that was an iced coffee. So whenever you order a coffee, they always ask you the question, do you want iced coffee or hot coffee? But you know, 99% of the people that work in those coffee shops, they all can speak enough English so that I can speak English and they understand what I'm saying. But yeah, coffee culture is massive here. So if you like coffee, you'll love Vietnam because of that. So the next point I want to touch on is the accommodation here. There's so many hotels here, especially around where I'm staying, the District 1. Like the hotel that I'm staying at, there's 4 hotels in a row, and they're just, you know, small little sort of shop fronts, probably 10 metres wide. But yeah, there's 4 hotels side by side, and there's so many around the place. So jump on the different apps, bookings.com or Agoda, check all the prices. But there's so many here that you could maybe book into a hotel for 1 or 2 nights, and then you know, you can just walk from hotel to hotel and ask them if they've got any rooms available, and you'll probably get cheaper deals than if you just, you know, book a week or 2 weeks or however long you're going to be here for. So I'd recommend that, definitely. Book 1 or 2 nights, get your bearings. If you're happy there, you can go to the place next door, and ask them how much you can stay in their hotel for. I'd say you get a better price. When I stayed, I booked the first 2 nights, and then after that, you know, the girl at the reception said, can you cancel the next night through bookings.com, because then they don't have to pay a commission, so you get the room for a little bit cheaper and they get a better deal. So yeah, don't feel like you have to book for your entire trip. Book a couple of nights and then get out, walk around if you like it, stay extra nights. But if you don't, doesn't matter. There's a girl up ahead here doing a yoga class. The next point I'd like to discuss is you know, talking with the locals or local interactions, and I've found them to be very friendly. If you have any issues or don't understand English, then you can show them use the Google Translate app. That works really well. I've used that a couple of times, and the people understand that you're trying to communicate. They do the right thing, but overall very friendly. When I went on the metro ride the other day, I took a video of the second day it was open, and then I got a comment on it from a girl that was on the train saying, that's me in that top, and she thanked me for taking the video and having her in it, because now she's documented that she was on one of the first trains that went through the metro, so she was really happy with that. So yeah, they're very friendly people. If you have any issues, use Google Translate, and you should be fine. So that's where apps on your phone are very important, like Google Translate, Google Maps, and the Grab app. They're 3 super important apps that you've got to use, and you'll use them a lot. The next point I'd like to touch on is the history here in Vietnam, especially in Ho Chi Minh City. I went to the War Remnants Museum, which was a very powerful experience, a moving experience. They've got a lot of the old tanks and planes and everything, and they showcase a lot of the bombs, but they basically described and showcased what happened during the war, and it was a terrible thing, for the people here, and also I guess for the people fighting. that came over here to fight, like from the US and Australia and all the different countries. Like, it's such a waste when you see it, and so many people were killed and so many people were injured, and how it really affected the Vietnamese people. So that's something well worth visiting. War Remnants Museum. So if you're in Ho Chi Minh, definitely go and have a look at that. And the other thing I went to is the Independence Palace. So when the North came down and basically took over the South when the war ended, so in that palace, you know, a lot of very important decisions were made. And when you go in there, you can do an audio tour, so you pay a little bit extra. Like, it cost me, I think, $3 to get in there, or $4 Australian to get into the whole Independence Palace, and then you can pay an extra, you know, $2 or something like that. I can't remember exactly, but not very much. And you get a headset, and then as you walk around, each room has a number. You press the number and it sort of tells you all about the room and what happened in that room and important dates and so on. So I'd recommend you definitely do that. It's something that, you know, we should never forget, that's for sure. So I'd recommend you do that as well. I made a video about that. If you want to go and have a look at one of my other videos, you'll see it. So the next point I want to touch on is the nightlife here. You know, the city really comes alive, like first thing in the morning, as you can hear by all the traffic, but also at night time. So the other night, a couple of nights ago, I went down to View Bien, the most famous sort of night walking street, and they put all the tables and chairs right out on the road, so they basically cut off the whole road. And that's a real party street, but all the neon lights, and that's amazing just to walk down there and have a look. So I did that a few nights ago, and again I'd recommend that you have a look at that. So, and it's amazing. Yeah, so I was sitting there in the bar, just having had a beer and a hamburger for dinner, and all these motorbikes were going past slowly, and there was a family of 5 on one motorbike. And then 5 minutes later, there was a lady with her 4 dogs on the motorbike. So that was, I guess, her family of 5. But yeah, so many people cram on the motorbikes. People from all ages. So apparently if you've got an electric motorbike, you don't need any sort of license here. So you see some young kids going past and they're sort of electric bikes. But yeah, it's a lot different to back home, that's for sure. So people from, you know, 12 to sort of 80 riding along on these bikes through all the traffic. They're not concerned by it. So that's something you've got to see as well. And the last point I'd like to touch on is, you know, the cost of living, or how much it cost me. It didn't cost me a lot of money to get here. And the accommodation, you know, that's the most expensive thing, but that's pretty cheap. I'm currently paying $40 a night, but I know you can get it much cheaper than that. Or you could pay a lot more than that as well. So it just depends on what you're after. As I said before, maybe book one hotel for a couple of nights and then get here and have a good look around. You might be able to get something as good or better for a cheaper price just by going next door or a couple of doors down, knocking on the door and asking the question. But if you want to eat cheaply, you can eat very cheaply, like I did this morning again. The banh mi cost me, I think, $1.15 Australian, and the coffee was like $1 or $2.30. So, you know, it's under $5 for breakfast. Or if you want to spend a lot of money, you can. You can go to more expensive places, and if you want to eat Western food, you can. So yeah, that about wraps it up. That's my impressions overall. I've really enjoyed Ho Chi Minh. Last year I went to Thailand for a month. I enjoyed that. The year before that I went to the Philippines for a few weeks, enjoyed that. But Vietnam has got a lot going for it. And as I've said earlier, it's a rapidly developing country, that's for sure. I think it's going to keep on getting better and better and easier for people over 60 like me to travel and enjoy themselves, feel safe, not have any real major problems. So if you're thinking about coming to Vietnam, Ho Chi Minh is definitely well worth a visit. Please leave in the comments if you've been here before, and if you have, what your impressions were, if you plan on coming. But life's marching on, so if you want to come, I suggest you jump on one of those big birds and get over here, and you'll love it. All right, thanks for watching. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed, hit that like button, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.